So if you're entering the national park from West Yellowstone and you're heading south along the Grand Loop Road called Old Faithful, one of the first geothermal areas you'll reach is the Lower Geyser Basin. And if you're like me and several other people, your first instinct is to swing right into that first parking lot to check it out. Well, you've just arrived to the fountain paint pots. Are they worth it? Let's get into it. So the fountain paint pots, where are they? Well, within Yellowstone National Park along the Grand Loop Road, it's going to be about 8 miles south of the Madison Junction or about 8 miles north of Old Faithful. What are the trail stats? Well, it's actually a boardwalk. So what are the boardwalk stats? Well, the boardwalk is only 0.7 miles round trip with a total elevation gain of 26 feet. Now the boardwalk also goes in a partial loop. So about a little ways up the boardwalk, you'll do a loop around some geothermal areas. So to start this trail, you're going to start off from the parking lot up the boardwalk where you'll go through some bacteria mats and some strands of dead trees, which just is another reminder that this area is constantly changing. After a short distance, you're going to reach Celestine Pool on your left and an intersection where this is the start of the loop. Now, personally, I think we should do the loop clockwise, but to be honest, if you're standing there at the intersection, if you look straight ahead, you're going to see a bunch of geothermal features, probably the direction that you're going to go. So for this review, we're going to go counterclockwise. So after the intersection, the first pool that you'll reach is Silex Pool, which will be on your right. In a short distance after that, you'll climb up a little bit and you'll reach the fountain paint pots. Now the fountain paint pots, there's a boardwalk that goes around the entire paint pots. Really not another paint pot or bubbling mud pit quite like it of this size. Kind of neat to watch. It's kind of memorizing in a way. It's really cool. And after the paint pots, you'll reach Red Spouter and Leather Pool. And from here, the boardwalk will take a sharp left, heading west. And as the trail starts making its way counterclockwise, you're going to pass several other small geysers and geothermal features. Some of these being Deck Geyser, Morning Geyser, Fountain Geyser, Jelly Geyser, and several others. A lot of these geysers are spitting water, they're hissing, they're pretty active, so there's a really good chance that you're going to see some activity through here. So it makes it a really good introduction if this is your first time into any of the geothermal areas in the national park. From here, the trail continues to make its way counterclockwise around until it hits the boardwalk to where you can complete the loop. So I'll never forget the first time that I came here. This was one of the first places that we went to in my first visit to Yellowstone National Park. And I love the fountain paint pots. I thought they were the coolest thing. The second time I went, this last trip, didn't quite meet those expectations. And I think because the fountain paint pots themselves can kind of migrate a little bit because the boardwalk kind of encircles them. The first time I went, they were right next to the boardwalk, so you could get really, really up close with the bubbling mud. This time it was kind of isolated right in the middle of the boardwalk, so it was only a kind of a relatively distant view, but it's still really cool. And a lot of the other geysers in the area are really active, so those are really cool as well. But if I'm being honest, a lot of the other geothermal areas in the park are much, much better. This is a really good introduction to those, but that is why I rate this hike or boardwalk a bucket list boardwalk. But there's really not a lot to unpack with this review. It's pretty short, pretty sweet, pretty simple. But from here, if you're headed south along the Grand Loop Road, like a lot of people are, the next stop and the next video that we're going to focus on, really going to bring the wow factor. So thanks for clicking on this video. If you liked it, hit a like, hit a subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.